Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade towards which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hope and liberty loving people everywhere march with you, in company with our brave. Oh, goodness. It looks like I am audio everywhere. Oh, that didn't go as well as I wanted it to, but hey, it's okay. That's what this is all about, just learning, right? Hey, what I am reading off right now, for those of you that don't know, of course, is the letter by General Dwight D. Eisenhower. He ultimately led the invasion of Normandy. Now, before we get started any further here, I know a couple of you are already in the comments section saying, hey, D-Day wasn't June 6th, it was June 5th. And yeah, you're right. However, June 5th was the original date for D-Day to take place. The only problem was weather. They actually postponed the battle to take place on June 6, 1944, almost 80 years ago, and they did. And they did succeed ultimately in starting what was known as Operation Overlord, which was the ultimate liberation of Europe from Nazi tyranny and oppression. Pretty impressive stuff for the time, of course. Again, almost 80 years ago, this invasion took place. So, man, oh man. Yeah, I know, like I just said, D-Day is tomorrow, but with that little bit of information, I hope you guys can appreciate it. And my live streams are on Monday. So that's why I decided to take it up. But anyway, let me get back to it here. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen, the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade towards which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hope and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on our fronts, on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats. In open battle, man to man, our air offensive has seriously reduced their strengths in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Signed, Dwight D. Eisenhower. How motivating is that? Imagine 101st Airborne before they take off, before they parajumped, they jumped behind enemy lines. You know, Eisenhower actually comes to visit them and speak with them, and we've seen some very famous photos of that meeting and taking place. It's incredible. Right. Imagine being a young man at that point in time, receiving that type of letter, that being read by your commanders, your squad leaders, your fire team leaders, your platoon sergeants, whatever it may have been, and saying, hey, this just came down from General Dwight D. Eisenhower. Listen up. I don't know about you, but it gives me chills every time I read that, right? So I think it's a pretty exciting time, because ultimately Operation Overlord begins on June 6, 1944, and that is, like I said before, the liberation of Europe from Nazi tyranny. It's the largest amphibious invasion in military history. You've got naval, air, and land offenses taking place, and these numbers are incredible. I mean, it's pretty impressive stuff. Again, for that time, you had 1,527,000 number of U.S. troops deployed to England on D-Day. 287,000 number of personnel on board of Allied ships on D-Day, 156,115 number of Allied soldiers and paratroopers engaged in Normandy on June 6, 1944. Number of Allied soldiers who landed on June 6, 1944, 132,000. These numbers aren't small. You had literally hundreds, if not thousands of men dying just in training for D-Day, for this amphibious assault that took place and ultimately liberated France and Europe. Pretty, again, just amazing stuff. 73,000 number of British soldiers who landed And you had 25,000 number of Allied soldiers who engaged in Operation Neptune, 59,000 number of U.S. soldiers who landed on June 6, 1944. And again, I think there's actually a few thousand just on Omaha Beach alone. I think there's 6,000 U.S. service member burial sites, right? So again, just incredible. Of course, you had Utah, Omaha, Juneau, and Gold and Sword beaches, 5 beaches that the Allied powers assaulted. Utah and Omaha were the U.S. beaches. You had Juneau that was led by the Canadians. Gold and Sword were the British. Again, just and there was actually I think 15 different nations: United Kingdom, United States, Canada, France, Australia, Czechoslovakia at the time, Poland, Belgium, Netherlands, Norway, New Zealand, Greece, and South African troops all met up at this one location in France and decided to kick some Nazi butt. All right. So again, incredible. The Allies began planning for D-Day in late 1943. Actually, it was on December 7th, 1943, when President FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, told General Eisenhower that he was going to be in charge of the operation and ultimately planning it, which I thought was pretty interesting. So he was commanding the invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe. And during this time, they actually came up with a lot of different decisive misdirection campaigns, and there were numerous. And what they would ultimately do is use like inflatable tanks. They would have decoy landing craft that would be out in the ocean. They would have made up militaries, different armies that they would actually use incorrect or just misguided radio transmissions, even fake special agents. All of this to confuse the Germans about what was actually taking place. And if you Google images of inflatable or mock armies, or what they called phantom armies, ghost armies, whatever you want to call them, and you can see 5 or 6 guys holding up a tank because it was inflatable. It was ultimately a balloon, heavy enough to not get pushed around by the wind. And whenever German spy craft would fly over, well, what would happen? They would see, oh my God, there's a massive tank column headed straight to the north of Normandy. It's headed to a completely different location in France. We don't need to fortify Normandy. We need to fortify the beaches up north. And that's ultimately what took place. So even though Normandy was still very well defended, they didn't have the numbers that were ultimately needed to stop the massive force that was going to be invading Normandy on June 6th. By the end of the day, the invasion took place early in the morning. By the end of the day, the beach was captured. That, again, was the lead for Operation Overlord to liberate Europe. So, again, just incredible stuff that took place. And when you talk, again, about the numbers and some of the figures that took place, oh, man. 200,000 number of beach obstacles installed by the Germans along the Atlantic Wall. The Atlantic Wall was the big defense setup that Rommel was ultimately in charge of. 200,000 number of Allied vehicles of all kinds landed on Normandy. 200,000 vehicles pretty much landing on one beach. That's just impressive, right? I mean, one thing the Germans and the Japanese, in my mind, really, I guess you could say, just mistaken or quite simply didn't account for was how good American capitalism and industrialism and patriotism was, that it could come together. And at the beginning of the war, we had close to single digits number of bombers. We were very, very small in military capability. And because the Japanese actually missed the carrier fleet at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, that was actually one contributing factor as to why the tide, it was ultimately lost to the Japanese from the very beginning. And I think they actually ultimately knew that, but they were not expecting just the American effort and ultimately the whole country coming together to contribute to the war effort. I mean, we see images of Rosie the Riveter, right? Buy war bonds, right? All this type of stuff to ultimately win the war. And it wasn't going all that great initially. And then 1941 happens, the sleeping giant is awoken, and here we are. And ever since France was invaded, 1940, Churchill actually already knew that we need to start planning a European invasion. And, well, once we started to get our feet in the ground and dug in and we started to realize we might have a chance at this, that's whenever 1943, we started planning the invasion of Europe, Operation Overlord, D-Day, June 6, 1944. In fact, Eisenhower and Churchill were very, very stressed out about this being a failure. It's said that Eisenhower actually smoked packs of Camels. Like, I don't know exactly the number, but so many cigarettes in the months leading up to D-Day because of how stressed out he was. I mean, he was the guy that was planning ultimately this whole operation. It rested with him. Unlike the British counterpart, you had Montgomery that remained sober the entire time and, chipper, if you will. And anyway, so ultimately, because of the Allied victory on D-Day, that was the turning point for the war. And shortly thereafter is whenever you started to see one victory after the next, liberation here, liberation there. And then not too soon after that, you started to see the unveiling, or I guess you could say the discovery of the concentration camps, because that actually didn't start taking place till a little bit later in the war, which is pretty interesting. But anyway, it's because of, when you think about what everybody saw at risk, it was so many men fighting and dying, not because they hated what was in front of them, but because they loved what was behind them and what they were defending. They didn't want to see a Nazi takeover of the world. They didn't want to see the oppression, the tyranny that was taking place at their home. They didn't want to see their kids, their grandkids, their great-grandkids growing up under a Hitler-controlled earth. And so what did they do? They enlisted, they signed up, they joined the fight, and a lot of them died. When you think about it, there were a lot of boys that joined that were underage, some as young as 13, 14 years old, that would join because they knew that this was their obligation. This was their duty. That was how patriotic they were. I don't know if we would actually have that in today's society if we had a similar threat and a threat to our way of life. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And I will get here to your guys' comments here in just a moment. But, D-Day, I know the anniversary is tomorrow. One of the comments at the beginning of all of this, one of you guys said that, hey, it's good to remember the day, and talk about it a day prior and then remember it and, raise a glass on the day of, right? And I appreciated that. So with all that being said, let me get to some of the comments here and see what you guys are talking about. That was just a quick little lesson, I guess you could say, a little history lesson on D-Day and its significance and importance in the ultimate turn in the Allies' favor during World War II. So again, very interesting stuff, if you ask me. I think, there's been so many movies, so many well done reenactments and things like that. And then, of course, every year the Rangers get together at Normandy. They climb the cliffs up there and all, and it's a tradition now. And I think it's a wonderful, beautiful thing, if you ask me, right? So anyway, let me get to Jackie talking about what was in the thumbnail. Jackie Tanner saying, my favorite gun used on D-Day is probably the M1 Garand or the M1 Thompson. They're both such iconic weapons. Side note, weird thing is the D-Day anniversary is tomorrow. Yeah, I think I got to that point. But yeah, the M1 Garand is one of my favorite rifles of all time, and is one that, of course, everybody recognizes. After the 8th round, the clip pops out, you hear that ping, and it's a myth, by the way, that German or Japanese troops would hear that ping and know then that American trooper was out of ammo and to storm that American's position because he had to reload. And let me just tell you, you can reload an M1 Garand pretty quick. It's not enough time for somebody to try to storm your position, let alone if they're even going to hear it with, the sound of battle, the fog of war taking place. Not likely. Oh, man. Anyway, get in here. Let's see a couple more of you guys. And I want to talk. Let's see. I know I saw a super chat come in just a little bit before. So, hey, if you're joining us after the stream, thank you for tuning in. And, feel free. Monday evenings, I'll be here unless something comes up or, schedule, traveling, whatever else it might be. So make sure you're following us on social media. That's Classic Firearms Official. Make sure you're spelling it all right on Instagram and everything. Classic Firearms on Facebook. And if you want to follow me personally, magdump_Morgan is where you can find me. And I post updates there and everything as well. All right. But anyway, Legacy Productions, good to see you. And thank you for the contribution as well. God bless the greatest generation. And may we hope to live up to their legacy as we enter these hard times. Clint, favorite gun from the Allies and Axis. That's a good one. Favorite gun from the Allies and the Axis. From the Axis, it's probably going to be the Sturmgewehr, the STG-44. There's just something about it, right? Something about it that I can honestly say is just really cool. 8mm Kurtz. It's the first assault rifle, right? That's exactly what Sturmgewehr means. And yes, assault rifles are a thing. Assault weapons can be anything, but assault rifles are an intermediate chambered cartridge like 7.62x39, like 5.56, like in this case, 8mm Kurtz. That I've also select fire, magazine fed capabilities. All right. Anyway, from the Allies, I do love the M1 Garand. But I got to tell you, there's something about the Browning automatic rifle and that 30-06 awesomeness that it has as well. And when you think about it, there was a rumor that the Browning automatic rifle was such a, I guess you could say, incredible piece of weaponry that it was a very limited issued firearm, and that if the Germans got their hands on it early on, it could turn the tide of war. I don't really believe all that, but anyway, that's where I'm at there. Now, this is a good question or a good statement here, Slim, because I'm not going to say it's a bunch of lies. The Russians definitely played their part, and they really did play a huge part in the war. The Germans got their asses beat. I know I said I was going to keep this one PG, but sorry about that. The Germans did get their butts handed to them in Russia, so much so that, well, Hitler himself was actually losing his mind by the end of the war. He was telling armies to go and support the German reserves on Normandy when these armies didn't exist, things like that. And that's because a lot of these armies did exist, but they were wiped out at Stalingrad or wherever else, right? So, the Russians definitely played their part, but it's not a bunch of lies. So there's that. Granted, the victors do write the history books, right? So anyway, oh man, that's great to hear, John Luke. Glad to hear it. My granddad was on Iwo Jima. My great uncle Wyatt, that he was actually at Guadalcanal. He was, I can't remember the exact unit name, but he was part of the only Marine Corps unit was disbanded, and never actually set foot in the United States, which was pretty interesting is there, right? Appreciate Mr. Prof Zero for the contribution and the super chat. We want cowboy hat, Clint. I'm going to sit right here. I can touch the cowboy hat. There you guys go. How you like that? I feel like riding an atomic bomb off of a B-52 or something. What movie am I talking about? But anyway, oh man, Chris, you're saying you didn't get notified that I was live. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say, but there you have it. Hashtag Classic Firearms Education. Yeah. Just a couple of facts, things like that, stuff that I've studied as well. I mean, there's something about history, right? You should study it. If you don't, you're doomed to repeat it, that type of thing. It's funny, though, because it seems like there's a lot of people studying it, but somehow we're still just repeating it as well. And then, of course, you've got the whole other side of the population that just wants to rewrite history because they didn't like it in one way or the other or something like that, I don't subscribe to that, but, it is what it was. But anyway, let's see here. Well, that's true. Rusty Shackelford over here talking about the Ohio Ordnance H car. If you guys haven't seen the H car, it's the modern version of the Browning automatic rifle. I think Grantham did a video on it. I can reach out to Ohio Ordnance. We've worked with them in the past. That's where we got the BAR from, and we got another gun from them too that I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty freaking awesome, right? Yeah, that was something too, Chris, that I thought was pretty funny. I wonder if they were talking about the generation, because there's different models of the BAR. There's the later, there's the early, there's like the 1918, the 1919 model, things like that. So I wonder if they were talking about a certain model in World War II that's a little bit later design that they were talking about. Not too sure, but yeah, the BAR, just like the 1911, have been around for a very long time and were very prolific firearms in both wars. Anyway, coming on over here. I see you there. Production, Legacy Productions again. Thank you so much. Just watch Kentucky Ballistics 4-bore versus body armor video. Have you ever shot any of the large elephant rifle 700 nitro and such? No. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I'm not that excited about shooting it. All right. I did see Kentucky Ballistics 4-bore video about it. He shoots it and, oh my God, he starts yelling. But yeah, Rusty, I agree. Scott's awesome. We've worked with him in the past, not in person. We wanted to have him on the podcast, but our schedules didn't line up when we were at the NRA annual meet. So maybe a little bit later in the year, we can do something like that. I think that would be pretty fun. Kevin asked a pretty good question here. Why do all gun tubers post at 6 p.m.? Analytics are a big thing. We see that a lot of our audience is active and most engaging in the evenings. That's typically when we decide to do our thing, right? So that's why actually Sundays, I think, are probably a really good time when a lot of people are kind of sitting around and just doing their thing and dreading Monday to come. You know what I mean? So anyway, Sam, what are you talking about? Sam McCracken, hi Clint, been working on a custom badge in inspiration of yourself. It would mean a lot to me if I could get some feedback from yourself when you have some spare time. In a custom badge. All right, I'll bite. Don't know what you're talking about, Sam, but yeah, DM me, Magdump_Morgan. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and we'll talk about it. All right, but that's pretty cool. Ridley Nova in boot camp fired the BAR, was awesome. United States Marine Corps, Nam vet, Vietnam. And that's awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. And that is super cool. I've shot a BSAR, a Browning semi-automatic rifle. Have not got to shoot one on full auto, unfortunately. But, that's, yeah. What's this? Waldo Swanson, greets from Germany, but not to the invasion, though. That's pretty funny. Oh man. Let's see here. Ricardo saying, Clint, you do the best live shows. I'm not a huge fan of Kaya. I think that's his name. He's too dry for me. You're much better keep the videos. Look, once Kaya gets out of his shell, he's hilarious. He just has to warm up a little bit. And I think as the more and more that he's on the channel, the more and more he's going to grow on some of you guys. And I think you guys are going to really appreciate his perspective and also experience too, that he can contribute to the channel. But anyway, that's funny though. Aaron, I'm 32. I'm 32 years old. All right. If you're curious there. So, yeah, so there you go. Sig, sweet and sour. The guy is great. LOL. Oh my goodness. Continuing on here. See quite a few of you guys are in here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It means the world to us. Have a Browning BAR hunting rifle, and the H car is on top of the want list after the Tavor. The IWI Tavor is great. And that is just a fantastic, bullpup, Israeli little bullpup, that I think you're going to absolutely love. All right. By the way, if you guys like my cup, I'm not sponsored at all, but I do like supporting 2A friendly companies. And if you know our buddy Guns and Gadgets, Jared, he's part owner of Blackout Coffee Company. And I don't have any coffee in here right now. I'm actually sipping on some Lagavulin. And this is just one of their cool mugs that they have to offer. I do have a bag of their medium roast that I'll be trying out tomorrow. But Blackout Coffee, again, not sponsored or anything like that. I don't get any kickbacks from that. I just like Jared a lot. And the fact that it's a partnership with Gun Owners of America, I feel like, hey, I'll definitely support them, especially if I'm getting some good coffee out of it from an pro 2A coffee company, unlike some posers. There you go. Blackout Coffee Company. Check them out. And cheers, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Continuing on here. Let's see here. 17 Glass House is asking, what first focal plane LPVO would you recommend for a SCAR 17? My local range goes up to 600 yards. For SCAR 17, are you talking about one of the newer ones without a reciprocating charging handle, with a reciprocating charging handle? The reason I ask is because you actually want to go ahead and take a look at different reviews and configurations of optics, because with a reciprocating charging handle, depending on your optics mount, what you might find is that whenever you go and, start to run the gun, you might find that it could interfere a little bit. Just saying, with your hand placement and all. Again, just saying, right? Either way, the charging handle is in the same position, but the non-reciprocating charging handle just has a horizontal short charging handle that I always hit my top of my knuckle on. I'm pretty sure it's actually pretty scarred. Get it? I crack myself up sometimes. But with the non-reciprocating charging handle, it comes with a ambi charging handle. Even though the reciprocating one is also ambi, you can take it out and put it in the other side. The non-reciprocating charging handle, the new SCARs, they come with two charging handles, and the one on the left side is your primary charging handle that's actually bent down at a little bit of an angle, and you can actually rack it a little bit easier without rubbing your knuckles on any type of optic or optic mount that you might have on there. As far as an actual LPVO goes, because the SCAR is definitely capable of being chambered in 7.62 NATO to reach out to 600 plus yards easy. What's your budget? That's going to be a really big question there. If you're not afraid, if you're already looking at a SCAR, I assume your budget's going to be well enough to get a suitable optic. SCARs, even the non-reciprocating charging handle, they're still pretty abusive firearms on optics. So you want to get something pretty quality. I love the Trijicon VCOG. Look at Leupold, some of their Mark 5s, things like that. Like the one that I have on the Sig Spear sitting behind me over here. I'll just hide the comment really quick. You guys won't be able to really see it. And I've been advised not to handle any firearms during a live stream if I want to keep the live stream up. So there's that. All right. And let me know too if you guys can hear me all right. I noticed last time the audio was a little choppy. So just let me know if you guys can hear me okay. But anyway, I can't remember. It's the Mark 5 HD. It's a 2-10. And I absolutely love it. I think it's wonderful. Check that out. Leupold 2-10. I think you'll be absolutely you'll love it. All right. Ooh, that's a question. G-Man 214. If you were able to bring one modern firearm to Omaha Beach on D-Day, what would you pick? The A10 Warthog. Anyway, I'm just saying, sounds ridiculous, right? But I would just call in a bunch of A10s to absolutely just decimate the Atlantic Wall and call it a day. All right. So anyway, talking about the, to give you a legitimate answer, I don't know why my mind jumps to FAL, but it does. So there's that. But definitely not. I see some of you guys already down there. A10, good choice. No, I probably wouldn't bring the Mark 18. I'm going to want something rugged, reliable. It's going to work. Not saying the Mark 18 wouldn't. I'm just saying you got to look at some of the distances that they are engaging these bunkers and everything else. You also want to go with something pretty light because, the ocean is deep and you're already got a lot of gear on you, and I don't feel like drowning. So the M14, the best at its job. I see that. That's funny. I'm probably going to say an ammo. Ammo is going to be heavy if you're carrying a bunch of ammo too. And yeah, that's a tough question right there. Honestly, the M1 Garand, I think, did great at its job, so FAL. I'm just going to say FAL. Why the hell not? Right. But anyway, but yeah, something that can burn, yeah, like an A-10. I think that's the ideal way to go. Okay, the Vulcan is the most powerful machine gun mounted on any aircraft. Yes, it absolutely is. It's so powerful that the 30 millimeter Vulcan that the A-10 Warthog has is the gun isn't built around the plane. The plane is built around the gun. If you've ever noticed, the landing gear is actually off center of the actual aircraft. That's because the landing gear, again, the plane was built around the gun. Look at a head-on view of the A-10 Warthog when it's sitting on the ground. You'll notice that the front landing gear is offset, and that's to make room for that freaking huge machine gun. It's beautiful. I love it. Anyway, BMCGI, thank you so much for the super chat. He's wanting to know what optic, LVPO, low variable power optic, should I put on my HK MR556? I thought of replicating the Marines with the Trigicon Army vet, by the way. Yeah, dude. I was going to show you my M4. I do have a Trigicon with an RMR top mounted to the front of the ACOG. I really love that setup. I really do. The only problem with top mounting a RMR up top is the fact that you lose your cheek weld if you need to go ahead and pop up a little bit, which if you're going to be using the red dot, you're probably using it in a closer proximity anyway. So probably not that big of a deal. But you do lose a little bit of that cheek weld. Okay. If you wanted to go for a similar type of setup, like what the Marines are utilizing on the 3.5 power Trigicon with the RMR top mounted, like what we're currently featuring at cfcontest.com. All right. That is the IAR, the M27 that you see. So if you're trying to, clone the HKMR 556 like the MR 556 that we currently have at CF Contest, then that would be the way to go. I think you'd love it. But if you're wanting to go LPVO, again, I'll mention the 556. You could do a 1-8, 1-6 Trigicon VCOG. I think you'll love that. My favorites right now are that Leupold 2-10. I know it's expensive. I will say that. But also, what are some other LPVOs out there that are really good mid-range? The Sig Tango 1-6. The eye box, the eye relief on the Sig Tango 1-6 is the same. The Sig Tango 6 is amazing. That, whoever asked about an LPVO earlier, I kind of forgot about that one. That one is a phenomenal optic. When Sig first got into optics, I didn't know exactly, how I'd feel about it. Sig wants you to be able to say, hey, I have a complete Sig build, just like Geisley did. Geisley said, I wanted you to have a complete Geisley build. Everything Geisley, everything from, the pistol grip to the optic, to the barrel, to the everything. That's what Geisley wanted to do, and they were just known for triggers and stuff, right? But anyway, AR-10 would be a good Sig Sweet and Sour, would actually be a good option for D-Day, I think, actually. I think so. A good AR-10, maybe the HK417. Now that I'm thinking about it, instead of the FAL, maybe the HK417, because I want the accuracy. But it is still heavy, Give me a couple months and I'll let you know if the Sig Spear would be on my list. All right. Maybe something in 6.5 Creedmoor too. Okay. Legacy again, dude, you stay with the super chats and I couldn't be more appreciative. Thank you so much, man. That just means a lot. And if you ever run into me out in town or whatever, make sure you identify who you are so I can buy you a drink or something. Cheers to you, Legacy. All right. This, by the way, is the Lagavulin, the Ron Swanson limited edition. It's very good. All right. I say the Ron Swanson because, did you guys watch Parks and Rec? All right. Anyway, this one's for the podcast with Peace of Mind. Sarah, love her. She's awesome. Showed the video to my girlfriend to show that there's someone else who wasn't big on guns who grew into it. Would you have Stephen Ranilla of Mete ATWR, Meet AWR on for a hunting episode? Well, I would say yes, but I'm going to have to do some research on Stephen Ranilla. Obviously, I don't watch a lot of TV or anything like that, but I totally would. I mean, there's not anybody I don't think I would say no to on the channel. Just saying. I mean, if there's somebody that's really controversial, I'll invite them on and say, hey, let's go to the range and, see what happens. But a lot of times people won't bite. They won't do it. I've publicly called out Representative Raskin multiple times. He used one of my videos on Congress floor during a hearing about the pistol braces. And I've said, instead of taking one of my videos out of context, why won't you actually talk to me? And you don't hear back from these people. Of course you won't, but anyway, that's not the point of the question, obviously. Thank you, Legacy. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, I would definitely have somebody on there for sure. All right. Let's see, Sam, I want to get back to you really quick about the badge. I dropped you a DM on Instagram. Thank you for the opportunity to show off what I've been working on. Also, thank you for all your content. The CF channel has really helped me recently. Well, thank you. That means a lot. And yeah, I'll check that as soon as I get off the live stream. All right. And there's my dog. Hey, Hugger, what you doing? She's a black lab chow mix. She's beautiful. I love her. Anyway, let's see here. Waldo, fun fact, the Beast of Omaha's name was Heinrich Severloh. He reunited with a U.S. soldier who turned Paris decades later on the same beach, and he shot him on video. Is in a YouTube, but in German. That's pretty interesting to check that out. By the way, did you guys, I think it's called My Way, is what I think it's called, something like that. It's a movie about two Koreans during World War II who kept getting captured and then forced to fight for different forces. Originally, they were invaded by the Japanese and forced to fight for the Japanese, and they were captured by like the Chinese, and then forced to fight for the Chinese, and then the Russians, and then the Germans, and then ultimately they were captured on D-Day by the Allies, and they finally got to tell their story. I think it's called My Way, and I think I got that accurate. They pretty much fought on every front and kept getting captured. And these two guys were not fans of one another at all. And they ultimately, it's a wonderful story. Again, I think it's called My Way. Check it out. But anyway, let me see here. I saw another super chat come in here from Hungry 40s. Pick only one, both in full auto, Ma Deuce or legit MP7. Probably a legit MP7, just because it'd be more practical, and I would probably shoot it a lot more, if I'm being completely honest, and have a silencer on it and everything. The Ma Deuce would be really cool, but I honestly think I could probably afford to feed an MP7, even though that 4.6 millimeter cartridge is hard to come by. I think I'd be able to afford to feed it a little bit better than I could a Ma Deuce. And I could shoot that a little bit quieter in the backyard without waking up my neighbors. The Ma Deuce, even a suppressed Ma Deuce, is going to be pretty difficult to do. But at the end of the day, the Ma Deuce would be pretty freaking cool. All right. But the MP7, I think, is where I would be. All right. But anyway, a dog is about to get banned from YouTube. What? Oh, man. Edgardo Meirez, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, man. Hey, Clint, decided to go with an LMT enhanced carrier. What bolt do you think I should pair with going with on my Mark 18 inspired build? That's pretty freaking awesome. I got asked a similar question in the last live stream, I think, about a good bolt carrier group to pair it with. And there's quite a few different companies out there. There's one. Oh, I can't remember it now. Is it BCM? Anything BCM, you're not going to be upset about. It's the same bolt carrier group that Ryan has in his. Let me come back to you. Let me text him really quick though, because that is one that that is just a solid bolt carrier group. Hey man, what's the bolt carrier group that you have in your Gucci build? All right. I'll let you know when he gets back to me. All right. Anyway, where the hell's my mouse? There it is. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think a couple of you guys are interested, or I agree with me about the MP7 versus Ma Deuce, so there you go. What battle in World War II are you most interested in? Oh man, they each have their own significance. I think about the Battle of Aachen, which was the first German city to fall to the Allies during World War II. I think about obviously the Battle of the Bulge. And of course, in the Pacific theater, I do think about Iwo Jima. Obviously, me being a Marine, that's going to be something that's just beat into me. I will always appreciate that flag raising. And then of course Guadalcanal, Okinawa. All of these are just very the Battle of Midway, for instance, that one, the old movie Midway is just incredible. I mean, there's so many different battles that take place that they each have such a significance, and they mean so much in the war, that it's really hard to find one that one I've got the most interest in, because as you start to read up on each of these battles, you start to learn what all went into it. Like, for instance, in preparation for D-Day, one of the commanders, last name starts with an O, and first name starts with a T. I can't remember it now. He was actually this is a piece of information I'm giving about all the different battles out there. One of the commanders was so concerned about leaking information from his troops that were being trained that he actually hired a bunch of attractive female like spies to go to these different bars while these troops are on liberty for the weekend or whatever. And literally their job was to try to force information out of the Allied soldiers. Like, oh, what are you doing here? What are you training for? Things like that. You're obviously here. And apparently not one soldier said anything about the invasion, which is, pretty impressive. What do they say? Loose lips sink ships, so pretty interesting stuff. And whenever you read up on different battles, there's so many different significant things that take place like that. It's just incredible. So it's really hard to kind of like just narrow down one legitimately. D-Day obviously is just because of it's a big one. I mean, it's just so involved in it, and its significance in the war in Europe and what that ultimately means with the changing of the tide of the war. That one I'm always interested in to talk about and read about and learn more about, of course. But at the end of it all, probably due to family significance, Guadalcanal. All right. But anyway, thank you so much, Artemis. You're awesome. What can I say? That just means so much for the super chat. You are the absolute best, and I thank you. Let's see here. Kyle Bosco, what up, Clint from Ballistic Advantage? What's up with you? Hope you're doing well. Big fan, by the way. Got one of your barrels in my AR-10 build. That was my first AR build. So thank you, Ballistic Advantage. One of your Clint's barrels. Clint, I can't remember his name. Clint something. Hansen. It was a Hansen barrel. That's what it is. It's a Hansen straight flute barrel that I absolutely love. So there it is. Anyway, Gerpay is wanting to know, hey, Clint, honest opinions on the Mark 18 R3. Okay, so if it's anything like the original Mark 18 with the Riz 2 and everything, it's going to be awesome, but even awesomer because, quite frankly, it has ambidextrous controls. You have the ambidextrous mag release and the ambidextrous bolt catch and release, which makes me super, super happy. And on top of that, being the new R3 rail, Riz 3 rail, whatever you want to call it, that's the M-lock configuration, but it still has that incredibly strong lockup, just like the original Riz 2 did. And so my honest opinion is it's freaking awesome. But if I had the choice, I would go with, they call it the R3S. That's the one that's 11.5. I'd go that way. That extra 1.5 inches. You get better velocity out of it, and you're not going to notice that much of a difference on a shorty configuration. Really, 1.5 inches. Are you going to notice that? But, to some, yeah, you will. 1.5 inches will be a lot for you guys. But anyway, let's see here. Let's see. Clint, have you tried shooting the Blackwater Iron Horse, and what did you think of it? Yes, I have. I have shot it. For those of you that don't know, the Blackwater Iron Horse is actually a thumb. I think we have a video on it. methinks, unless it was one of the ones that got deleted, unfortunately. But yeah, the Blackwater Iron Horse, you actually shoot it by utilizing your thumb, not your trigger finger. It's very weird. You can shoot it quicker than you think you can, honestly. The ergonomics are present. It's a very different thing, though. If I'm giving my honest opinion, I don't think it's something that I would personally, really go for. But it is very, very different. If you're into different, that's something you should check out. All right. But anyway, when am I going to upgrade to 31s? For those of you that don't know what he's talking about, PVS 31s, those are the dual tubes for night vision. Because right now I've got my little AGM PVS 14, and I will upgrade when I can either afford PVS 31s, which will be not likely anytime soon, because you're talking ballpark $10,000. Or at least when AGM wants to provide one for the channel for me to use. I guess I need to stop actually talking about AGM because they're getting enough publicity from me about a monotube when I could actually do a monotube versus dual tube comparison. Maybe a different company would want to hook me up. I know EOTech recently dropped some 31, something like that. So we've got also now, you guys will be seeing this coming soon. We actually have a night vision capable camera. And so you will be seeing some nighttime live fire coming soon. So stay tuned for that. I think that's going to be pretty freaking exciting, if you ask me. We sent off one of the very many cameras that we have to actually get night vision out, I guess you could say, or equipped. So now you can actually see, you can see all the lasers and the whatever else, and you see what pretty much I see when I'm looking through one of the tubes. But yeah, if AGM wanted to hook me up with a PVS 31, that'd be really cool. But at the same time, I honestly work really, really well with the monotube. But yeah, that's that. So, oh man, let's see here. We'll get to a couple more. Did I see another super chat? Thought I did. Maybe I'm just I don't know. But anyway, Spinal Cheese. No, I don't think I did. Guadalcanal irreversibly turned the tide of the war in the Pacific. Despite the Marine Corps fanfare for Guadalcanal, the Navy suffered over 3 times as many men at sea than Marines on the island. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And when you think about the different branches that kind of get the notoriety for D-Day, for instance, since this is kind of the subject of today's live stream, there were Marines present at D-Day. They were actually sharpshooters that were clearing the way for the Higgins boats and actually shooting mines, believe it or not, out of the water. Pretty impressive stuff, right? So Marines were present, just back on the ships doing Marine Corps things, which again, I think is just really freaking neat. All right. There's that super chat there. Hungry 40s. I should really start reading these before I just click on them. Can you buy Kaya a shirt that's not from the Baby Gap so he doesn't print? I'm not buying Kaya any clothing. I mean, maybe depending on what's on the shirt, maybe I'll buy him some clothes. All right. Anyway, it's pretty funny though. But no, I mean, hey, the shirts, hey, they fit him enough, so there you go. All right. Anyway, thermal overlay or nothing. I feel you. Let's see here. Quentin Simons is saying, where's that Simmons? Sorry. Thoughts on Stag 10 308. I found one new at my local shop under $1,100 with basic mil-spec furniture. Go for it, man. The Stag 10 308s are fantastic rifles. I am honestly a really big fan of the Stag 10s. They just awesome guns. I got my Stag sitting over there, Stag 15, that just runs flawlessly. They're great guns for the price. They're pretty hard to beat, honestly. Unfortunately, Hyper Camera 2s or Camaros. Sorry, I thought I said camera. That's me looking at a bunch of cameras. Hyper Camaro 2SS. Hello, Clint. Have you checked out the Beretta 80X or the Beretta 92X yet? Thanks. The 92X, yes, fantastic. The 80X, I've only seen it in person. I have not actually shot it, but I am very excited for it. That Cheetah series of Berettas are awesome, and seeing that they came out with a new one, pretty hype about. My friends over at Beretta, Dina, Amanda, if you guys are watching, hey, send me a Beretta 80X so that way I can answer these people's questions, okay? Obviously. Anyway, Alan Paulson, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Howdy, my brother just got his Zastava ZPAP M70. Awesome. Did he make a good decision? Yes, obviously by my reaction there insinuates that he made a good decision. Also, Classic should give away more pimped out tactical AKs. Glad you think so. Meridian Defense, weren't we working together again soon? Anyway, RPK or something like the Pestilence. If you don't know what the Pestilence is, think about like it's called this, and it's legitimately what it's called, but the furniture on the Pestilence, it does have a vertical grip, and they call it a dong. And that's just what it's called. It looks old school, rustic, battle worn type of design, wood furniture that's just really freaking awesome. 14.5 pinned and weld muzzle device. I've got a Yankee Hill muzzle device on mine to run with my 7.62 Ti can. Love it. I do want to actually run the 7.62 Flow, which is crap, which is right there. That's the Flow. You can't really see it, so sorry about that. But anyway, I do want to try that out on the Pestilence at some point, so I don't know about that. I'm just going to have to remove the muzzle device, pin and weld another one if I want to remain compliant. Anyway, totally on board for an RPK. Absolutely. You mean the dong? Yes. Not too much M80 ball left though. Fun's about over. Yeah, could be. Yeah, if it's surplus you're looking for sure. The M70 might be my favorite rifle to shoot. Luke B, good to see you. So yeah, I mean, the M70 is an awesome gun. We're talking about the Zastava M70 there. So, anyway, have I checked out the Midwest Alpha furniture for the AK? I think that's actually what I have on my Zastava is a Midwest Alpha rail. I think so. If that's what I'm thinking of, then yes, I have checked it out, and it mounts up very securely, very nicely, and I like it a lot. It's the M-Lock rail that I have on my underfolder. I'll have to show you guys. Anyway, Adam Allison, love the show and content. Y'all do a bang-up job. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So you guys are all awesome, and I really appreciate all of you all being here, talking with me on another Monday evening. Of course, this one in honor of tomorrow being June 6, 1944. And unfortunately, I don't have any of my World War II weapons out behind. I don't even have my M1 carbine out. I am sorry. I failed on that part. So my bad. John Wayne would be mad at me. But anyway, what are my thoughts on the Glock 43X? It's fine. It's reliable. It's going to go bang, but I just think there's probably better things out there, right? Coming in with the real questions, Boston Ferreras want to know when the M4 Sherman tank giveaway is going to be. Let me call up Drive Tanks and let's figure that out, right? The M4 Sherman, notorious. Fantastic little tank. If you guys have seen the movie Fury, that's what they're driving around in, is the M4 Sherman. And I'm also a really big fan of the Pershing tank. And then, of course, if you look at the German tanks, the Panzer, the Tiger, they are just incredible pieces of machinery. In fact, if you guys knew this, Ferdinand Porsche, yes, like Porsche, the automobile company, designed a tank called the Mouse. And it is definitely ironic in the name because it's the largest tank ever made. Unfortunately, okay, if you're looking at the mechanical side of things, unfortunately, on the war and strategy side of the things, fortunately, the Mouse was actually never produced. They made a couple of them, but a lot of them are just hollowed out. I think there's only like 2 or 3 in the world, and they're both in museums.
Actually, I think one of them is in Stuttgart, where the Porsche manufacturing plant is, and my dream is to go there one day because I am a Porsche fanboy. The newer stuff, yeah, it's nice, but the old air-cooled 911s, love those. Just big fan of all of that. And of course, if you're like me too, and you like the movie Scarface, he's got one of the first Porsche V8, the 928 in there. That's fantastic. But yeah, Porsche designed a tank, just like Lamborghini designed and made tractors before they got into automobiles and things like that. Pretty interesting stuff, right? But anyway, Mr. Prof back in here again. Thank you so much again for the super chat. Anything you can share on timing of a long range build series? Very soon. How soon, you might be asking? Like, I don't know, maybe about a month. All right. This has been a collaboration of a lot of people, and it is a lot of manufacturers. And this is probably going to be one of our best series to date in my mind. So stay tuned. I'm super excited for it. We've got some really cool, I guess you could say, video content that's going to be coming out with this. We've been testing some of it, and we can really zoom in on a target at about 500 yards or so, and you can see the impact. Not only can you see the impact, but you can see the vapor trail. Things like that's really cool, and that's also why the night vision is coming into play. So not only are we going to be bringing you night vision, but we might be bringing you long range night vision, because why the heck not? Pretty exciting stuff. All right. So timing as far as a long range build series. And of course, at the end of the build series, what do we always do? Yes, every gun that you see in the series will be offered up at cfcontest.com at no cost to you. Just throw that little tidbit in there. Anyway, yes, Porsche also designed the Leopard 1 tank. Again, just Porsche designed some pretty cool stuff. In the late 1800s, I think he actually electrified his whole house, even with an intercom system, which when a lot of the world was having a hard time with electricity, there he was, making intercom systems. Ferdinand was a pretty genius guy. It's just unfortunate that he was buddies with Adolf. Yikes. Anyway, yeah, there you go. How about that big German railway gun, the Gustav? Let's get that. You guys just want all sorts of neat things, that I wish we could just offer up. And it's not that you can't in this country. You can. It's just that the freight on shipping this to wherever the winner is in the country would cost us more than it wouldn't make sense, guys. Just saying. So, I guess we could give you the money to purchase the tank or the cannon or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I'll talk to the marketing team about it. I'm sure it'll get immediately shot down, pun intended. But it is what it is. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited too. We're going to be doing some distance shooting and having a good time doing it. All right. Let's see here. John Knoxville, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, bro. I recently purchased a Savage Arms MSR 308. Solid choice. So what are your thoughts on it? And do I need to keep it or trade it in for something else? No, do not trade it in. The Savage MSR 308 is awesome. Did you happen to by chance get the side charging MSR? Just curious. I'm just trying to remember, are all the MSRs side charging or not? I can't remember. John, answer that question down in the chat. Either way, Savage makes a fantastic rifle. You're going to be really happy with the MSR. Solid choice. All right. Sig Sweet and Sour, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. What if D-Day happened at night, as in the landing craft, not including the airborne? I think there was talk of that. I think there's a lot of planning into all of that. The issue with the night invasion is I think that there would have actually been a lot of issues with guys running into mines. They had that. You got to think there was over 5 million. I believe the number is 5 million mines that were placed along the Atlantic Wall and on shore and in the ocean. You want to be able to see those to try to avoid them or get rid of them, blow them up. One of those Marines, shooting from a ship, blow them up before you run into it. Right. So I think that was probably one of the biggest issues they had. It's not like they had night vision like we do today, where they can navigate through this type of stuff and try to go in a little bit more stealth like. That's why they just tried to ultimately just blow it up, right? You got to think too, just when I talked about this earlier, June 5th was the original day for D-Day, but they had to cancel due to weather. I'm sure that something with the ocean and the tide probably had to play a part of it as well. So, the timing was very specific about what would be the best time to get guys in these Higgins boats, and which were actually designed for the swamps and stuff like that in Louisiana. Fun fact. But anyway, the Higgins boats that these guys would load up into and to make their way on shore. A lot of amphibious tanks as well. When you think about that, amphibious tank, these are very, very heavy vehicles that had these massive exhaust pipes on them and everything else like that. Just Google amphibious tank D-Day. You'll see what I'm talking about. So again, time of day was a huge piece of the pie when it came to the invasion. So if it happened at night, I honestly don't think it would have been a success because, well, all the thought and everything else and all the planning that went into this, there's just a reason. There's just a reason. All right. So Chris is asking a good question about wondering how many mines are still out in the wild. They are still finding them. They're actually still finding unexploded ordnance from the Civil War here in the United States. They're finding it from World War I all over the place from World War I. Still finding it in Cambodia from the Vietnam War. I mean, there's unexploded ordnance everywhere. So watch your step. This planet has seen a lot of warfare, which is sad. A lot of technology advanced from warfare, which is also kind of sad. When the military is in need of something, and then all these other companies start coming together and trying to figure out how to provide for that need or find a solution for that need, now all of a sudden they find something else. Space travel is actually a really good example of modern medicine and different technology being implemented in hospitals and medical care, things like that, which is pretty cool, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, there's still a lot of unexploded ordnance, otherwise known as UXO, laying around out there. So watch your step. Don't kick something if it looks like it's got little fins sticking out. We've all seen Joe Dirt, right? Anyway. Oh, man. Let's see here. Due to stigmatism, I'm seeing a couple of questions here. This is a good one from Danny. Sherman was actually one of the most survivable tanks of the war from a crew standpoint, not to mention it had to be shipped around the world and very reliable. It's definitely not given the respect it deserves. The Sherman, I think, is actually a really well-respected tank. Granted, a lot of people, I see where you're coming from, however, because paired up against a German tank, people would say, oh, it's going to get annihilated. However, the Sherman may not have packed as big of a punch as one of the German tanks, but it could outmaneuver, flank, get behind where the German tanks had weaker armor. Naturally, typically they're fighting head to head like this, and if you can come up behind one, drill a hole right into the rear of it. Again, the movie Fury does a really good job explaining that too. That movie was actually credited with being pretty damn factual when it came to the weaponry and everything. But anyway, so the Sherman is. I think the Sherman, honestly, is looked at as the tank that won the war as far as tanks go. So granted, if it did face a one-on-one versus a German tank, its likelihood of surviving wasn't high. It kind of reminds me of, this is my nerd coming out, Star Wars Rogue One, K2. High, very high. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad you guys like the Joe Dirt reference, all right? Anyway, let's see here. Bradley Zekoff, love your content. What's the possibility of doing a Cowboy 3-gun giveaway? Let's see here. I've got my 45. I don't know why I look at the screen when I'm trying to point at something when I can just point and you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. Things like that, right? Anyway, my 4570 sitting right over here. Let me hide the comment so you guys can actually see it. That right there is my Henry 4570 all-weather with the Picatinny rail. I haven't figured out what optic I'm going to throw on there just yet, but I will be throwing an optic on there. Also, I just had my extra rounds sitting there. They are. For those of you that don't know, 4570 government looks like that right there. That's it's focusing on me still, but anyway, this is a hollow point. This is a pretty pretty rad round if you ask me. So I think that would be a pretty cool giveaway. A 3030 would be a cool one to feature at CF contest, or even the 357, which my mic, isn't exactly covering it up there. But anyway, my 357 that you see right here, that's the Henry brass side gate big boy. That's brand new with the side gate for, loading. That one's just a lot of freaking fun. Anyway, by the way, did you guys see the video where we talked about the big boy revolver and the big boy brass gate side loading 357 lever gun? Let me know what you guys think about that too. I had a lot of fun shooting that. All right. But anyway, I saw where to go. Here we go. Legacy, thank you again for the super chat, man. You are awesome. On a lot of holster companies' websites will only ask if the gun's a Glock style or SIG style. What's the difference, and which would a PDP fall under? So SIG style or Glock style? Are they talking about the frame? Because Glock style could be, well, there's a multitude of different options there. Because if you're looking for, are we talking Kydex holsters, I assume? That's a weird one. If you're just talking about styles, I don't know if you guys can help out Legacy with this one or not. But ultimately, the way I kind of look at it is, if it's a Glock style, you're probably talking about like a Glock 17 where a 19 could fit into it. Or perhaps even a 19 with an open bottom, that a 17's muzzle would just point out at the bottom. And then SIG style, I guess they're talking about the 320. I don't know. That one's a weird one to me. I guess you could always email them, ask them for specifics. I know at companies, again, I'm always shouting them out, Alpha Mega Kydex holsters. If you need an Kydex holster inside the waistband or outside the waistband or thigh rig or whatever else you might need, make sure you use the code word MAGDUMP. But anyway, it's they specify all the different models and all the different attachments, whether you want to optic cut or not, what light are you going to be running with it, threaded barrel or not, open cut or not. There's all sorts of different options on there. They don't just say Glock style or SIG style. That doesn't sound to me like you're going to have a secure lockup or good retention on the firearm if it's just really basic like that. Again, I'm not too sure. So anyway, with that, thank you again, Legacy, though, for always the contribution and everything. It means the world, man. That's awesome. That thunder, good Lord. Anyway, lever gun 4570, can't go wrong. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. 3030 versus 4570 speed comparison. Go. I do like to pride myself on running a lever gun pretty well. Every now and then I'll slip up, like I did in the 357 video that came out this past week, which, by the way, let me pull that video up and see what some of the questions were and some of the comments were from you guys over there. Not classic music. That is not what I'm looking for. I don't need Mozart. I need lever guns. And let's see here. Can that be on a t-shirt somewhere? Anyway, where the heck is it? There we go. So, incredible Henry big boy lever action and revolver. I'll just read some of the top comments really quick. Henry repeating arms is in the comment section. That's awesome. Thanks for taking a look at some of our new releases. Partner, absolutely, guys. They go together like machine guns and should be legal. Yes, that is what I said. I couldn't think of something to say at that point in time, but decided to go with it. And yeah, at one point I do try to mag dump, if you will, the 357 lever gun. And as you guys probably know on the channel now, I show mistakes, right? When we were talking about the Canik Mate MC9 and different drawing positions from a concealed carry position or concealed carry holster, I showed where my shirt got snagged on the rear sight. And I said, hey, here's what I need to do to fix that. Make sure I'm grabbing my shirt and lifting up more. So in this case with this video, ultimately what I did was I tried to shoot too fast, and I put the extended lever, the more opened loop on that gun, which is great for gloves. But if you're shooting it with your bare hands or just doing the cool little spin trick, if you're shooting it with your bare hands, though, just having the standard slim lever loop that it comes with is completely fine. and also if you want to shoot faster. But in doing so, trying to shoot as fast as I could, my finger actually slipped out and I got it like caught between the stock and the lever. Didn't feel great, but whatever, kept going. Still got all 10, 11 rounds shot off in like something 6 seconds or something. I don't know. I could do better. Don't worry. But anyway, as far as a comparison between the 30-30 and the 45-70, stay tuned. You guys know I can rock the hell out of the 45-70. And also I'm going to have to pay attention to capacity. So I'll max load the capacity of the 45-70 and then, match that to whatever the 30-30 might be. They might be pretty similar though, because I know I got a 30-30 laying around. It's probably in my ammo box, but anyway, so yeah, it'll come soon. Don't worry. All right. Anyway, let's see here. I'm going to get to a few more of you guys. I saw another super chat come through. Bradley Zikol, if you pronounce my last name correct, that is awesome. That's awesome. I don't pronounce the Stava correctly, Zastava. But hey, at least I got your name correct. And if getting your name right means you'll do another super chat, awesome. I'm glad I did it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Bradley. I appreciate it, man. Mr. Zikol. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Oh yeah. Hey, thank you for the reminder, Edgardo. He did respond. He said the Psionics NP3, the Psionics NP3 bolt carrier group, solid. And everything he has on that gun, we're going to have to do like a build one day, like a build overview of Ryan's build, because it is pretty dang awesome. But anyway, that's pretty funny. Artem Thunder got some explosions. Anti-air AR defense is working. That's, pretty freaking cool. Where are you at? Don't answer that question. Like, remember how I said before, loose lips sink ships? Operational security, boys. Don't let them know when. Don't let them know where. Don't let them know how many. All right. Something I would tell my guys. Anyway, oh, what's up? All right, Edgardo. Appreciate it, man. Went on a 4-mile run listening to the stream. Wow, I haven't run 4 miles in quite some time. Anyway, is this Jay Johnston? Sir, good to see you. I have served with Jay here in the Marines for quite some time, and he just graduated and is now a chief warrant officer in the Marine Corps. So congratulations, man. Again, congratulations, sir. And yeah, there you go. We need merch with this. I don't need Mozart. That's what I was saying too, man. Maybe I could put that on a t-shirt or something. So really cool to see some of my buddies in here also. Jay, it's good. I hope to see you soon, bro. Anyway, let's get here. I'm going to do a couple more. I'm going to keep this one relatively short too. I know I said that kind of last week because of what I want to say, Memorial Day. And I've just got, a lot going on right now. And so I will try my best to have the live stream going next week, but I am not 100%. So make sure, again, you're following on our social media, and I'll keep you guys up to date about that. Also, I just thought about it too. Jay, don't tell me about not shaving. Okay. Anyway, OPSEC. Oh man. Did Kaya? I saw one comment over here about Kaya hasn't shot black powder. You guys need to change that. Yes, we do. In fact, when I was growing up, my dad, in the house, even, he had a black powder gun that he put together. It was a pistol and flintlock, actually. And he would literally just put powder in there and then just a wad of paper towel down it and just shoot little fireballs in the house. Yeah. That's how I grew up. And, I am so happy about that. In fact, my dad, God bless him. Cheers to you. Yesterday was the 8th anniversary of his passing. And he was one of my best friends. So Stephen Young Morgan Jr., God bless you. You are a wonderful father, and I hope I've made you proud. He wasn't really a Scotch guy though. So he did like his Blanton's whiskey. That was like his favorite. He tried to collect all the, the horse riding toppers. So anyway, continuing on, Austin Scott, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Clint, you are my favorite personality. Don't know why, but no, thank you so much, man. Have you thought about reaching out and going on Tim Pool's podcast? I have not. I'll be honest with you. I got a lot going on my own here. Even though I'm not, as featured right now on the channel. There's a lot of things coming down the pipe. Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. And what I can tell you right now is being on somebody else's podcast, as long as I can do it remotely, I would probably do it. I mean, I was just on the Battle Line podcast with Ian and Chris Tonto Peranto, and we had a pretty good discussion, about an hour and a half or so, just talking, shooting the shit, if you will. Which, by the way, shooting the shit was the name that I wanted to name the CF podcast, the Classic Firearms podcast. We actually debated the podcast name for quite some time. And, we were like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to have cursing in it. We don't want to get, shadow banned right from the start. We don't want to mention anything firearms because of, all these, because of podcasts and everything else, which we will be on Spotify and all that soon. Just stay tuned. And so we kept thinking, what are we going to call it? What are we going to call it? Oh, the CF podcast. Easy enough. Anyway, let's see here. So McBrand06, by the way, thank you again, Austin, for the super chat. Appreciate that. And your kind words also. That means the world to me. McBrand06, going back to the Meridian Defense Pestilence, talking about the furniture on that gun and the dong. It's right there. That is the gun. And that is the furniture I'm talking about for those of you that needed a image to reference. So thank you, McBrand06, for that. He wanted to know, where do you find the tactical lever guns with the M-LOK stocks, or the M-LOK rails, I think you mean. So there's a lot of aftermarket companies out there that make all of these different rails, stock configurations, optic mounts, all sorts of stuff. Again, if you follow my buddy Jade Struck, she does a lot of lever gun content on her Instagram and everything, and she usually shouts out all the different manufacturers that she gets all of her equipment from. And yeah, I haven't told her personally just yet that I've been calling her out in different videos about a lever gun showdown with her X model and my big boy brass 357s. I'll DM her eventually. So you guys just go and spam her stuff. Go and spam her content and say, Clint from Classic Firearms is calling you out. I think it'd be pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, Jade, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I know you're not, but it's fine. Anyway, no, Chris, that's funny. Your name's just Chris. That is not my personal MCX Spear. That is one I've got that I am trying out, testing, things like that. And one that you'll probably see at CF contests before too long. All right. I've got a couple of firearms here that I'll be using just on, for content and stuff like that. All right. Let's see here. If aliens landed and were hostile, and you can only have an AR-15 or AK-47, which one are you taking? Probably the AR-15. And the reason I say that is because if they're aliens, I probably am going to want to get as far away as possible. And I know I'd be able to accurately engage with a 5.56 out to about, me personally, about 700-800 yards. And with an AK, it would be, accuracy through volume. The 7.62x39 cartridge is not inherently inaccurate. It's an accurate cartridge. Just when it comes down to distance and accuracy compared to the 5.56 cartridge, 5.56 is going to beat it. Also, AR-15s can be chambered. I don't know. Maybe I'll need something a little bit harder hitting. So 458 SOCOM or 50 Beowulf. And, I can just switch the upper out. So it's a little bit more modular. There's my take on it. All right. So there you go. AR all day. Yep. There you go. That's a good point too, Rusty. If you're talking about a it's hit the fan scenario, your readily available calibers, you ain't going to find Creedmoor. Creedmoor is becoming more available, more readily available, but you do make a good point, Rusty Shackelford. You do make a good point there, right? Anyway, I'm glad you guys are also, having conversations with each other and answering some questions and all that. That's honestly one of the coolest things, if you ask me, because it's actually just getting the community involved and you guys kind of making friends, right? And I think that's just something really, really neat. So you guys get in here, Go create, go get, go use these social media giants platforms against them because they hate guns and stuff like that. Start Facebook groups and everything else like that. We've done it on our end before. It got shut down. But start Facebook groups, go in there and go and have, don't grope each other in the groups. What's wrong with me? Start these groups, start the conversation, and talk about ways too to get involved in your communities to start protecting and fighting for the defense of the Second Amendment, and for that matter, all rights. All right, get involved. I think that's just a really cool thing to do. Social media it's a devil and an angel, right? I mean, it can be good. It can be used for good, kind of just like firearms. Depends all about who's operating it at the end of the day. It can be used for good, can be used for bad. But at the end of the day, it's available and you should take advantage of it. Anyway, I do want to do that because Hyper Camaro 2s is asking if I've gotten my hands on the new Beretta A300 Ultima 12 gauge tactical yet. Have I gotten my hands on it? Yes. Have I shot it? No. Stay tuned. However, again, Beretta, Dina, Amanda, if you guys are watching, hey. So I need a Beretta A300 and an ADX. Thanks. Anyway, let's see here. I mean, I could, Zon Paul saying, I mean, I think an AR would make a good gift to an alien like MIB and the flowers. I mean, yeah, good point. There you go. Especially if you come to the United States, here, have America's rifle as a gift. There you go. Give us some of your technology, right? Yeah, I think we'd want that. There you go. 6'5" need more. Oh, man, you guys are freaking hilarious. Oh, man. Oh, definitely off topic. But Kebab Pulaski on June 2nd, when Avenged Sevenfold dropped their new album, Life is But a Dream. I did listen to it. It's very different. Very different than anything they've ever put out before. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm going to give it a second and third listen probably and let you know how I feel about it. But I have been a fan of Avenged Sevenfold since Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. That album way back when, believe it or not. I do love Afterlife and City of Angels or City of Evil. I mean Afterlife, but that was the most popular song on that album. But the Avenged Sevenfold self-titled album, that was really, really good. Also, but Waking the Fallen is probably just a phenomenal. Radiant Eclipse, crazy. It just sounds so good. And also, I can't remember what it's called now. He talks about the brother. Anyway, I can't remember the name of the song right off the top of my head. But yeah, all in all, I don't know if I'm impressed with it or not. I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to listen to it again and see how I feel about it. So anyway, Edgardo. Oh, and let me know too if your thoughts on the album are about the same, like kind of like mixed, right? Like, we'll see. I think honestly, like the best song is the Life is But a Dream, and it's just instrumental piano. It's very soothing. I was talking about Mozart earlier. It's actually pretty good. It's just nice and chill. It's not something you'd expect from a heavy metal band. If that's what you want to consider them. Can you do a not so cheap, but not too Gucci Mark 12 build? Yeah. So, so if you're not wanting to do not too Gucci, that price range, then just go ahead and forget cloning, right? Just forget about it because cloning is irresponsibly expensive, right? Cloners will go out there and do everything they can to make sure that they get everything down straight to the optics mount and the nuts that were used and the MOA of the hide over bore. Cloning is a lot. That being said, a Mark 12 clone is super freaking cool. And I think PRI honestly has one of the best Mark 12s out there. It just looks everything about it. But honestly, you can build out your own Mark 12 and make it super nice. I mean, you just find yourself the right barrel, 18-inch barrel, find yourself with the correct Mark 12 gas system. It's honestly, dude, you could do it fairly easy. And then depending on the rail's probably one of the most expensive things if you think about it. Depending on which rail you want to go with, depending on which modification you want to go with, right? But yeah, I mean, can I do one personally? Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would be pretty fun. We've done a Mark 12 collaboration with Alex Zedra before, and you guys absolutely love that. And I love that gun. I mean, it's right there. There it is. Hey, I absolutely love it. That's the Daniel Defense Mark 12 there. Leupold Mark AR, Trujicon RMR with the T-Rex arms offsets, Surefire RC2, Harris bipod with the LaRue QD mount. It comes with the Geisley 2-stage trigger. Perfect. Don't need to touch that at all. And I have the B5 SOP mod stock on it and the B5 grip. And that's all I did to it. Oh, and the hand guards, and rattle canned it because take the spray can out, guys. Go out there. You're not going to hurt it. Might make it look ugly, but whatever. And if you are going to spray paint your gun, camouflage or whatever, make sure it makes sense. And what I mean by that is if you live in the desert, maybe you don't need a M80 tricolor camouflage. If you live out in the woods, maybe you don't need an arid sand paint job, right? Think about your environmental factors. And you can also just wrap it too. I mean, you got those little camouflage things you can buy on the internet, whatever. So there you go. Anyway, creating Facebook groups. Jean Paul is saying creating Facebook groups are one of the best ways to have a warning of crackdown. Once they start disappearing, something is up. That's true. Kind of like the YouTube channels of all the gun tubers where they all started getting strikes and even banned. There was definitely a crackdown just like that. And thanks to Mr. Guns and Gear and a couple of others that, stopped it ultimately. I mean, in a way, since that happened, that was actually a good thing because YouTube saw how ridiculous they were being kind of. And now, it's pretty freaking cool. There's like little, rules we have to follow here and there. And since, I don't want to lose the channel, we're going to abide by those rules. But there's also loopholes to that. Like, hey, if you want to see us actually absolutely mag dump machine guns and the full unedited version of this video, or it'll be edited, but edited with the fun stuff like all the live fire, go to Rumble, so there you go. Oh man. Anyway, why? Brandon Gibbs, the good news is that you can just keep trying, right? He's saying, why haven't I won an amazing gun that I can't afford? We always have them going on. Visit CF contests anytime except in between two firearms. And, there's always something there to be had. There you go. And it literally costs you nothing. So there you go, right? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Zom. A7X Avenged Sevenfold changed a lot after Matt Shadows, the stage name, M Shadows, had vocal surgery. I think he had that surgery after Waking the Fallen, that album, I think. Doing that screaming, screw you up or whatever. So there you go. Ask Gun Drummer, right? Nate, where you at? You got to be able to do that in there, right? Somehow. Mario, yeah. See you guys, a couple of Death Bat fans in here, right? Avenged Sevenfold. No, I don't have a Death Bat tattoo, by the way. I did think about it when I was in high school. Let's see here. Artem Kachuk. I think the T's silent, right? By the way, when the United States military will fully adopt, will the United States military fully adopt 277 Fury? Some cheap surplus 5.56 would be nice. To fully adopt 277 Fury, you're talking about getting rid of the M4 and some cheap surplus 5.56. You're talking, dude, not anytime soon. No way. We are way too integrated, emaciated. Is that the right word? With 5.56 platforms that it's not going to be anytime soon. At least I don't think. You're just talking to a Pogue reservist over here, right? But anyway, I'm going to give it about another, it's almost 9 o'clock now. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes, guys, because I want to go upstairs and hang out and chill for a little bit, relax some. I don't know. I feel like I need to go put on, Saving Private Ryan or something in honor of D-Day tomorrow. I mean, I will say that the initial scene, the D-Day invasion scene, is pretty impressive on that. By the way, since we're talking about music, did you guys ever watch the music video to My Chemical Romance, The Ghost of You? the cinematography in that music video is incredible. It's like the band members at a USO dance, and it's a top-down view of them dancing, and then the people dancing turn into like the obstacles on the beach, and the water comes in on the stage, and it's next thing you know, it's soldiers, running across the beach. It's incredible. I mean, it looks like, Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg worthy type of cinematography for a music video. And it's a good song, The Ghost of You, My Chemical Romance. I know my emo is showing, but phenomenally well done, just saying. So if you guys haven't seen that music video, 10 out of 10 would recommend. All right. Chris Ferguson, thank you. Thank you for the contribution and everything. As big as GunCon is getting, even though it's sponsored by a classic firearms competitor, would you ever see CF put competition aside and co-sponsor that 2A event? We've done things like that before. And I've even said so too, when I was, shooting against TJ Kurgan of tacticalshit.com. I said, hey, we might be competitors in the business world, but when it comes down to the preservation of the Second Amendment and fighting for our 2A rights, we are allies at the end of it all. Me and, there's Baron Von Zant, right? From Brownells. We're buddies, right? We're fans of each other, actually. I'll never forget the first time meeting him at NRA annual meet. It may have been 2019. He comes up to me and he's like, hey man, I just want you to know I'm a big fan. I'd like to get a picture with you. And I was like, what, dude? I'm a fan of you. Right. So again, we might be competitors when it comes down to business, which is completely cool. Yay, capitalism in my mind. Right. But at the end of it all, we're all in this fight together to preserve the Second Amendment and to make sure that the gun industry stays strong and keeps hiring and keeps producing and keeps manufacturing. So that's my thoughts on that. It really just comes down to timing and then how much effort we can put into it, because as you guys hopefully can tell, we put a lot of time into the channel, and whenever we have to travel and maybe co-sponsor something, that's just a lot more work, right? And we have a really big team that helps support the channel and everything. So we got to make sure that everything kind of lines up. So I'm not saying no, if that's what you want to hear. All right. So thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Brandon Gibbs, on a real note, any thoughts on the TSOS 1911s? I bought one and it's nice. Well, your thoughts are exactly my thoughts. They are super nice guns. They're Turkish 1911s, and they make the model 1911 A1 clones, which I think are super cool. They just have that olive drab and they're like Bakelite almost grips, and they're super nice. The TSOS 1911s are, if you want to get into the 1911 world without spending 1911 money for a gun that jams. I'm sorry, if Eli 1776 Duck is watching, he's probably ready to strangle me through the screen. But anyway, my Colt railgun has never jammed on me. It runs flawlessly, and I love that gun. In fact, I'm waiting for my new holster from Alpha Omega Kydex to come. I purchased that not too long ago, so I am excited I'm going full FUD, guys. I'm open carrying that on my hip, on my property, because, well, I should always carry a gun, right? Even though I did say in one video a while back, I don't always carry a gun on me. That's because there's probably one, close by. For different reasons, you might want to keep one on you instead of just laying out and about, so there you go. Anyway, the TSOS 1911s, though, Brandon, solid choice. You're not going to regret it. All right. One of you said, Clint, show us your dog, please. Hey, where you at? I thought she was down here with me. Shh. She may have gone upstairs, but I'm pretty sure I closed the door to the bunker. So, Bugger, hey. I don't think she's down here. Anyway, she's beautiful, though. I'll show her if she comes back down or next time, all right? So, anyway, Sean Zimmerman's wanting to know, what AK do you recommend? Zastava ZPAP, M70, or Romanian Wasser 10? Look, the Romanian Wasser 10s, they're great guns. right? They're going to work. They're, as far as I know, still very, I don't want to say very, but affordable AKs if you want to get into the AK game. Granted, they're not going to be, the fit and finish might not be as tight, right? Like a Zastava will be. The Zastava M70s are fantastic guns. And honestly, the chrome lined barrel, the bulged trunnion, I prefer the furniture on the Yugo style because you actually have a little bit more there. If you Google AK furniture versus Yugo furniture, you'll see what I'm talking about. Um, it's not as commonplace. So aftermarket, you have to make sure that if you want to replace the rail or the stock or something like that, you get a Yugo rail. You don't get, Wasser or anything like that, or just a standard AK rail. But it's not that big of a deal. And I can just tell you, I think personally, I would go with the Zazdava. All right. It's funny, Chris Ferguson. I haven't watched a music video in years. Go watch that one. You won't be disappointed. All right. And guys, for all of you that are still here in the chat, I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to get to just 3 more questions, and I've got a super chat here waiting for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one. Neil Ha, I think I pronounced that right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sorry if someone has asked something similar prior, looking to get a solid 5.56 rifle for all-around use, but unsure of which one to go with. Any suggestions in the $1,500 to $2,000 range? IWI Zion, BCM, and guys, quick, what's another one that I'm thinking of that SIG also makes the tread version. That's a really good one. Stag Arrow. Arrow is going to be a little bit different because you got to buy the upper and the lower, assemble yourself. Not a big deal. Or build one. I honestly would say buy one brand new out of the box. Play with that, toy with it, change this part, change that part. And then whenever you're comfortable, build one out, right? There's a lot of instruction on how to do so and how to do it legally, of course. That's funny, right? So there's that. All right. But anyway, the IWI Zion is one that I always talk about because it's made here in the US, even though a lot of people see IWI and it's like, what is that, an imported AR? No, it is actually made in Pennsylvania, I want to say, and comes with B5 furniture already. Check in the box for me. I'm a fanboy of B5 furniture. And it also comes with M-Lock QD attachment, M-Lock rail, standard A2 grip. I'm sorry, A2 birdcage. You already know I hate the A2 grip. The IWI 12.5 is also a great AR pistol. And while we are talking about AR pistols, or at least I'm talking about AR pistols, yes, the brace span is in full effect. Unless there's a couple of injunctions. Unless you're a member of the Firearms Policy Coalition, unless you're a member of Gun Owners of America, and there's a couple, and unless you're an owner of one of the Maximum Defense pistols, but you got to read up on these things, and you have to stay hammering this your representatives, because I don't want to waste the rest of my time going on a rant about this. Watch Guns and Gadgets, okay? Watch his latest video talking about it, and he lists off some of these Republican representatives that, to them, this is a business, and this is exactly what Jared said, and I absolutely love this. To them, this is a business. To us, this is our country, and we're done playing these games, right? I do believe that the constituents, us, we the people that are voting for these people that are not representing our best interests anymore, that are no longer standing and fighting for our constitutional rights, need to be out. And I think it's about time that people really recognize this. And that's that. All right. So that's all I'll say about that. But IWI Zion, I think, would be completely awesome. I see another one. Aaron's talking about the M4E1 built yourself. Way to go. Easy enough. Also, Sons of Liberty Gunworks, another one. Thank you guys for the comment section coming in sweet over here for all sorts of different and great options. Also, the M&P Sport 2, if you're really wanting to save some money for a gun that will go bang, the M&P Sport 2 is the way to go. And I always say that, look, invest on the firearm. If you've got $2,000 to spend $700 to $800 on the gun, spend another couple hundred on ammo, and then invest the rest in training, right? Obviously look, for basic iron sights, get good and proficient with those, upgrade to an optic of some sort, because once you start playing the red dot game or the optic game, it's cheating at that sense, right? I'll never forget, except I will forget his name. One of the YouTube comments there saying, hey, shooting with iron sights is like driving a stick shift, right? Get good with that before you upgrade to anything else. And I do agree with that, right? Learn how to use your iron sights, because if your optic fails, battery dies, gets broke, whatever else, and you got to rely on your iron sights that probably aren't even sighted in, you just want to have them on your gun to look cool and say, I got backup sights. You might find yourself needing those. So there you go. Bradley Zekoff is saying Middletown, PA is where IWI is, which is right down the street from me, which is pretty awesome, right? So that's pretty cool there. All right. I'm just going to get down to a couple more. 3 injunctions total. Just joined the 3 organizations. There you go. Springfield St. Victor is another good option, by the way. So thank you so much for that. I do agree. MTG is a warrior. Absolutely. So is Lauren Bobert. I'm trying to get Lauren on the podcast. Just saying. So I am in touch with her office. I think that would be a lot of fun. Just going to throw it out there. She is the leader of the 2A caucus there, and all that type of stuff. So there you go. Rusty, I feel you. We the people have had enough. There you go. Six Semper Tyrannis. Your brace band, Malone Labe. Absolutely. Just again, not a lawyer, not offering any legal advice. Throw a stock on it. Anyway. Do I have any custom 1911s? No, I don't have any custom 1911s. I've got my Series 70 that was left to me by my dad, and then I've got my Colt railgun, and I think I've parted with my other 1911s, but those 2 Colts are the ones that I'll probably never get rid of. I absolutely love those pistols. But yeah, Band of Brothers intro always gets me, by far the greatest series in World War II. True. All right. Let's see here. Let me find just one more good question and see. Let's see here. I see this is from Twitch. Kink Arcana. I got that right. There you go. If I want to glass embed a rifle, do you think it's worth learning how to do it myself, or is it not worth the effort, and should I just have a gunsmith do it? That's up to you. I'll be honest. Personally, I would have a gunsmith do it. I don't know anything about glass embedding, and I wouldn't trust myself with not screwing it up the first time. But then again, there's probably a lot of people that might feel that same way when it comes to building their first AR, and then they do it and they're like, oh, wow, okay, that wasn't so bad. So if I were to practice on a stock or something like that, just get a beat up stock and practice it a couple of times first, I would totally do it. I'm all about learning how to do something yourself, right? So initially, maybe for the gun that you want to keep nice and pristine or whatever else, get a gunsmith to do it. And then once you feel comfortable enough, go buy a cheap stock that you can glass embed yourself and try that a couple of times, see what you think, right? So that would probably be my way to go. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish this one out, guys. I just want to say, remember tomorrow, 79 years, I think it is, 79 years ago. Can you believe that? June 6, 1944, D-Day took place. The Allies had a loss of about 10,500 that day. The German troops, 10,000. So even though we lost more, we did win ultimately. And man, it turned the tide of the war in Europe. Once we made that, I mean, we liberated. We were in Paris, and by August, right? I think August 25th. Again, I think that's my history there. So again, I mean, just incredible stuff to think about. And guys, don't forget, so tomorrow when you're thinking about the 101st and thinking about the 82nd, when you're thinking about all those men and women that gave their lives in honor of freedom and to fight tyranny and oppression, you know, raise a glass to them and teach your sons, teach your daughters about what type of men and women lived during that time, because we don't want them to be forgotten, quite simply. You know, we owe it to them to honor them and live good lives, and to raise our youth in remembrance of them, and to know that the sacrifices that were made by so many for them to be here ultimately and still free. Don't get me started on taxes about what's really free and whatnot. But hey, here we are. Leave it at that. So there we go. And I saw one more super chat. All right, I'll get to you. Okay, Tanner Sitterman, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Just got a DD-M4 V7 and a DD Mark 12. Nice. Will full-time suppress the Mark 12? Is the Mark 18 the best shorter option to go with to also full-time suppress? To full-time suppress, the Mark 18 is a gassy boy. All right. Depending on the silencer that you have on it. So, you know, it is an awesome option. And I shoot mine obviously suppressed all the freaking time. And is it the best option? No, I wouldn't say it was the best option per se. But I will say it's a dang good one. I got I think I got a H2 buffer in mine, and it is butter smooth, shoots so well, very low recoil. 10 out of 10 would recommend. All right. But anyway, I'll leave it off there. And the DD-M4 V7 and the Mark 12, though, man, you are just all on it. I will say this, though, if you are going to get the Mark 18, go with the R3. You're going to absolutely love it. I will leave it off there. Now, finally saying that for the last time. Thank you guys for everybody that donated, that contributed, that, you know, threw in a super chat, that showed up. Everybody here, the couple hundred of you that are still here. Thank you guys so much. God bless you guys. Again, don't forget. And in response to last week, when I talked about World War II, you know, I read quite a few of the comments about World War II being the last war that was actually fought in defense of our freedoms. Yeah, I think I agree with that. All right. So anyway, all right, guys. Hey, God bless you guys. I'll see you guys most likely next week. But I will keep you updated on social media and confirm. All right. So cheers to you guys. Again, having my Ron Swanson edition Lagavulin here. Do love me some good smoky peaty Isla Scotch. All right. Solancha, cheers. See you guys next time.